So history can repeat itself in many, many ways. And I'm going to give you a little bit of history that details a little bit of the Acadian Métis file in New Brunswick. We've already talked about podcasts involving the expropriation of 250 families, including Jackie Vautour family, who are still holding peaceful protests at the Kuchipakak National Park land in the what do you call the central south central part of New Brunswick. Now, Jackie Vautour's family and the other families who were expropriated, Jackie decided to go back and basically stayed on his land in defiance of what we now consider an illegal act. Now, here's the situation. By the time 1975 arrived, a lot of people in our province were aware of what was going on with Jackie Vautour, were aware of the tense confrontation at Kuchipakak, who were scared of similar incidents rising. And this is where I come in. We call Gravel Hill, New Brunswick, Rock Vegas because my father looked like Fred Flintstone, and that was the main tourism area on the show. That's a kind nickname, but let's say, for sake of argument, we'll call it by its given name, Gravel Hill. At the time, Gravel Hill was a bedroom community of Nash Creek, Jacket River, Lorne, which means it was within 5 to 10 kilometers driving distance of those communities. There was only about maybe less than 100 people living there on a primary road and a secondary road, like there was a V. One would give you the main street, one would give you the opposite. Now, in 2024, if I told you a community of 100 people did not have a paved road, you're saying to yourself, what the hell is going on here? By the time 1975 had rolled around, the road was not even chip seal. It literally was an unpaved road, a gravel road. Now, we weren't called Gravel Hill because of the road. It was called Gravel Hill because gravel used to be hauled over the two hills that link our community to Murchie Settlement, Doyville, Lorne, because it was primary. Well, it was a volcanic rock and good for like a sand pit or whatever. So here's the deal. I don't know who in the community. There were several matriarchs and patriarchs in the community where we were saying we're going to block our unpaved road until it gets paved. So why did we not be invaded or thrown off by the cops or arrested? Well, there was enough publicity that occurred because of the Jackie Vautour situation. Maybe they were scared of another similar incident. And it had nothing to do with us being part Aboriginal, because the majority of people in Gravel Hill are either non-status Indians or have their status. My great-grandfather's two wives were status, and he was part status himself. Most of the people back in Gravel Hill, we kind of look like Elvis, male and female, because that's a sure sign you got Aboriginal blood. So when the protest started, we blockaded. There was a sign that says this is the start of Gravel Hill at the top of the first hill of Gravel Hill. How Gravel Hill works, you go down one hill, go up another, and you come in the main drag, like it's a two-hill community, right? So we had a lot of support. Local MLA Rayburn Doucette, who showed up one day in the sports car, looking great. Rayburn always looked great. He was the MLA for Restigouche East for a number of years. Eventually became a minister in McKenna's cabinet, running NB Power. So why do you think they eventually paved our road? It was a genius move. They were using provincial buses to get the kids back there to school, okay? They could have said, not pick them up, just bring them to the end of the road. Because the mail was run by the federal government at the time, Canada Post, they had to basically get the mail to the people. It was part of their mandate. And as negotiations went on, we eventually got the road paved, although it's not as best as other chip sealed or what they call paved roads in that part of the region. Now, what happened? Between 1975 and the rise in the McKenna government, people started to buy more cars. People wouldn't even deliver to us, by the way. Any purchases we made could not be delivered. We had to pick it up themselves from Lonsbury's or any other hardware store or whatever. So it was a very peaceful protest. Nothing as compared to what happened to Jackie Vautour. Now, in 1981, with the Restigouche invasion by the Sûreté de Quebec over the Restigouche members of the First Nation harvesting salmon, by the time the second confrontation happened in the mid-90s, who were scared because of the response to the incident at Restigouche in 1981. See, the idea about peaceful protests, which is what members of the Vautour family are doing, they're having a information gathering on Monday, October 7 at 1 p.m. in Kuchwaquack to talk about why they're having a sacred fire. It's going to be passing 100 days sometime Monday, I think Monday evening. You have to understand, peaceful protest is the way to go. We protested peacefully. We all sat as a community at the top of the hill. We took turns manning the barricades. And basically the barricade says, pave our road, please help us, and all that. We got a lot of media publicity, and some members of the media who talked to after the incident, when I became a journalist in 1983, 84, they're saying that the federal and provincial government were scared that this would turn into another Kuchwaquack. I don't know why. It wasn't involving people from Lorne. Lorne had over 1,300 people at the time, a lot more radical than we in Gravel Hill ever were. People from Gravel Hill were related to people from Jacket River, Nash Creek, some from Beldoon. Some of the quarries went to Beldoon to settle. And a bunch from Lorne would not come up with that because Lorne was more of a rough place. Like I said, it was a place that maybe even Alan Legier would be scared to go back to in the 1970s. It was that rough. Lorne was a rough and tough, had a high crime rate and what I call a high sarcasm rate. People from Lorne couldn't come up with that. And we eventually saw what happened in the 80s. He almost burned Gravel Hill out because the residents of the community were trying to get work, and he set parts of our community on fire to get work from the DNR to put out these fires. So they weren't even the equation. We never asked anybody else for any help to get this done. The only person we had asked for help was our MLA Rayburn, because Rayburn had a voice in the government. He was part of a very strong North Shore Liberal caucus, as we call it. So, ladies and gentlemen, there's not much history on the Gravel Hill Blockade, that's what we're going to call it, to get our road paved. But you look at fighting for your rights. All the Vautour family, extended family that are at the site in Kuchwaquack are not fighting for themselves. They're fighting for an hereditary claim of respect. We wanted respect. They weren't respecting us. How it would work, ladies and gentlemen, with an unpaved road, when it would freeze in winter, sometimes you wouldn't even plow it. So you had to drive through 2 to 3 feet of snow to bring the kids to school to do errands and what like that. We were caught in the 1940s into 1970s. But we didn't have any 1960s because we had 2 1950s because our road wasn't paved. Like I said, peaceful protest is the way to go. I recommend anybody that doesn't know about the Kuchwaquack situation to read about it. There's never been anybody killed. There's been arrests, but nobody's been murdered. Nobody's been attacked. I don't think any police officers or Vautour supporters have ever gotten a major confrontation. Could lead to anything negative. It's basically been, why don't you apologize and why don't you recognize what you did? So, ladies and gentlemen, please check out the Kuchwaquack situation on Monday, October 7 at 1 p.m. It's going to be a nice gathering. More information to the public. Everyone's invited. It's a peaceful protest. And if you mention if you hear this podcast and mention the Gravel Hill Blockade, if you can prove it, I'll buy you a coffee, like if you're at the event. Because this was unknown to members of the Vautour family until I started working on their behalf as a media rep to pass the information on what they've been doing in recent weeks and months. This is an unknown part of the Brunswick history because, how many people had your community road paved because they blockaded it? How many? Nobody had to blockade a road back in the day. We're the only one. Why were we the scum of the earth? I'm still asking for answers. We should ask for compensation. The only compensation is this. Maybe get, a free Tim's card or something. Something popular we can use. So, ladies and gentlemen, have a great day. And don't forget, give us a like, comment, subscribe, or share.